Okay. Can you see my slides now?
Yes po, Doc.
Yan. Okay. Is it tawag dito? Um, Yan. Is it in a full page view?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay. So again, good morning, class. This is surgery 2A. We'll be dealing with wound healing, wound care, and wound closure techniques. So this lecture is taken directly from Schwartz 11th edition. So that will be your best guide book, to help you study more. This lecture is only designed to simplify what's in the book, but I still encourage you to read the book so that you will better understand everything. But I tried my best to simplify everything for you, for this topic. So again, I'm Dr. Big Malyari. I'm a urologist and a fellow graduate of the FEU family. So these are the learning objectives. Nasa manual nyo naman yan. Let's start. So, before anything else, no, like any other things in this world, everything has its history. No, the only purpose of this history is to guide us and to let us know that during those early times, humans have already an idea on wounds and how to treat them. No? So the book uh, stated all these things from the time of the Sumerians up to Robert Wood Johnson's time. No? So huwag na nating isa-isahin. Importante lang dyan, alam natin na it's part of history and it's a topic in surgery that's fully and extensively studied. No? So let's go get down to business. What is a wound? No, there is in your book three important aspects. No, without one, it could not be defined as a wound. So these are the three: disruption of tissue integrity, division of blood vessels, and direct exposure of extracellular matrix to the platelets. So these are the three, kumbaga, important things na dapat na check nyo muna to tell if that something is a wound or not. Okay? So, dapat yung tatlong yan present. Kumbaga sa lawyer, kailangan kumpleto yung tatlong factors na yan bago masabing wound yung definition. Okay? So, that's how it is. So, I found the saying, na the first step to healing is recognizing that there's a wound, and healing begins where the wound was made. No, usually yun, no. Totoo naman, practically speaking, and well, hugot, pwede rin, but that's the reality, no. If you don't understand, if you don't recognize there's a wound, you cannot start your first step of healing. And healing begins where exactly the wound was made. Hindi naman nagkasugat ka sa noo ang maghihil yung puwet mo, no? Hindi ganun yun. So, practically speaking, that's how it starts. But scientifically, there's a process, no? This wound healing process entails stages, no, na should undergo, no. It's a complex cellular biochemical cascade, sabi nga sa book nyo, no. But the final goal is restitution of integrity and function of that area, or maibalik yung function and integrity of that wounded area of that skin, for example, no. So all tissues heal with a similar mechanism. Hindi naman siya nalalayo. Later on, you will find out that uh, the basic and the first steps are usually the same. Nag-iiba lang sa end point, lalo na kung bone, kung GI tract, kung skin, no, iba-iba lang yung endpoint, but the starting process are all the same. No, it entails hemostasis, inflammation, those are the first two, then proliferation and remodeling up until the scarring process, which starts with epithelialization. We will get down to all those stages one by one later. So I intended to include this graph because for me, ako kasi I don't know if you are a graphic learner, no? Ako kasi mas mabilis ko siya maintindihan kung nakikita ko visually, no? Visual learner kasi ako. So if I share that with others, I hope I can help you out in this one, no? So itong first yung pinaka nasa taas, no, yung representation of the stages of healing. So inflammation starts at day 0 up until somewhere here. No, that's how you tawag dito, interpret this. Okay? Then proliferation starts somewhere during, no, and coinciding with the last part of inflammation phase. Just as this is the same with the maturation, no, so they interact with each other, the phases overlap with each other. Okay, so yun yung maganda lang na maisip nyo dito. Next graph, this is a graph of the tawag dito, mga your proteins na pumapasok as what do you call this, yung mga polymorphonuclears, your macrophages, your fibroblasts, and your lymphocytes. These are the main cells that interact with wound, no? So ayan yung color, the neutrophils, they're the first ones, and the macrophages comes in second, no? It peaks at around day 2 and goes out at around day 6, while the macrophages, they peak at around day 4 and comes to becomes decreased in number up until the 12th day. Actually, if you notice, it plateaus, no? So hanggang dulo pa yan, no? The macrophages. That's how you interpret this data. Okay? So ganun din dito sa third, para lang at least ma-memorize nyo na fibronectins come in first. They peak earlier on and dies down at around 9th day, you know. While yung collagen 1, it steadily increases in number until wound healing na yan, nagpa-plateau rin yan somewhere. Okay? And the wound strength. Okay? So, ano lang, just to give you an emphasis on these things. So now we can deal with the phases of wound healing. So, sorry, before that pala, I just want you to also picture what's happening during hemostasis or wound healing or your bleeding protocol, parang ganon. So first thing that happens is there comes a break, no, that also includes your blood vessel. So the first reaction of your blood vessel because of that break, it constricts. Okay? So imagine niyo pag tinamaan yung blood vessel, lalabas yung dugo, ang primary reaction ng katawan, it constricts that broken or damaged blood vessel. Ang reason, para lumiit siya, para ma-close yung wound area and ma-contain. Next, do you still hear me? Am I still on?
Yes po,
Yes
Doc.
po.
Okay, sorry. I heard chime kasi akala ko
Doc.
Anyway, next, when vasoconstriction happens, that's the time your platelets comes in to plug that broken area. Okay, then your fibrin clots will stiffen and strengthen that platelet plug that will contain the bleeding. Okay? And lastly, don't forget, syempre, yan ang laging nalilimutan, yung clotting control. Kasi there should be a start and a stop button to every process in the body. Kasi kung wala, so sobra yung healing. So diyan nangyayari yung mga hypertrophic scarring, no, yung mga abnormal excessive reactions ng katawan. So there should still be a stop button, and that's the clotting control, the coagulation inhibitors, and your fibrinolysis to lyse the fibrins and para matanggal yung plaque na yan and mag-start ang healing. Okay, and yun nga, like what I've said a while ago, ang end point of wound healing is to restore function and yung continuous nito, ma-bridge ulit siya yung break. Okay, so with this, let's start with hemostasis. No? So the first phase of wound healing, no, is hemostasis. It's the body's attempt to quickly stop the bleeding without affecting the circulation. No? So yun yung kanina in-explain ko. No? So usually the trigger point is exposure of the subendothelial collagen. So platelet activation is activated by exposure of subendothelial collagen, yung wound itself. Okay? So what are the platelet activators? These are your platelet alpha granules. Usually, ang common yung platelet-derived growth factors, transforming growth factor beta, your platelet aggregating factor, fibronectin, and serotonins. Yan yung common 5 platelet alpha granules. They are the ones that activate, no, so ang mangyayari, magkakasugat, may expose yung subendothelial collagens. So yun exposure of the subendothelial collagen will activate the platelets, and these platelets are activated by these alpha granules. Gets ba? So I'm trying to simplify it para medyo mas ma-digest nyo ng maayos. So yung sa kaninang pinakita ko, yung fibrin clot, it's the one that strengthens your platelet plug, no? Kaya siya, pag sinabing fibrin clot na, yan na yung mismong area na nag-plug so that bleeding will be controlled, no? And through that fibrin clot, that's the area where your inflammatory cells enter the wound area. Your inflammatory cells are yung PMNs, neutrophils, macrophages, and your lymphocytes. So, pinadali ko na buhay nyo. I tabulated this. You just have to study this table. No, may masasagot na kayo sa exam. So, first to infiltrate, just like in the graph I shown you a while ago, is your neutrophils or your PMNs, your polymorphonuclear cells. So, they peak at 24 to 48 hours. The primary role is phagocytosis of bacteria and tissue debris. So, technically speaking, sila yung first to arrive at the scene of the crime, and they're the ones that will clean up the area. Okay? Yun yung term. They clean up the area. Phagocytosis of bacteria and tissue debris. So, kasi kung hindi nila gagawin yun, hindi magkakaroon at hindi mag-start ang inflammatory phase. Okay? So, that's one of its purpose, to clean up the area. They are a major source of your tumor necrosis factor alpha 3. So, etong TNF alpha 3 na to, later on you will, pag binasa nyo yung book, it has something to do with angiogenesis and collagen formation in the later processes of wound healing. So, siya rin yung nag-activate nun. And it also releases proteases, yung collagenase. Ano ba, di ba, sa biochem, na nalaman natin, if you hear that ACEs, it usually degrades things or it lyses things. So for in this instance, collagenases, it lyses the collagen. no? So ang purpose nun is to clean up the area pa rin. Okay? So actually meron ngang study na your polymorphonuclears or your neutrophils, uh, they might have an effect that delays wound closure. Pero medyo ano na yon, minor effect na lang. So the more potent effect niya is yung primary role niya, which is phagocytosis of bacteria and tissue debris. Then comes the second population, your macrophage. Actually, if you research on macrophage, the proper pronunciation actually is macrophage. You can check it out with Google. Pero kasi nasanay na akong macrophage from med school pa. So but the proper way daw is macrophage. You just check it. So again, second population to arrive, it is derived from your monocytes. Alam na natin lahat yan from our microbiome, di ba? So it peaks at 48 to 96 hours, but it stays in the wound area until healing. So isa siya sa mga matagal magstay because ang dami niya pang kailangan gawin. No, number one, it also helps your neutrophils in the debridement by phagocytosis of bacteria and tissue debris. And it also has ito ang isang importanteng role niya. It starts your angiogenesis and matrix deposition and remodeling. Yung remodeling mamaya later part pa yan. Kaya nga ang macrophage hanggang dun sa dulo active. Because of this process, the debridement by phagocytosis. Okay? So next is your T lymphocytes. Can you see my pointer?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, thank you. So lymphocytes. So as we all know, yung lymphocytes, three types: the helper, the cytotoxic, and the T regulatory cell. So these things, yung mga yan, dumadating siya, huli na, parang mga pulis sa pelikula ng Pinoy, no? Tapos na lahat, saka siya dadating. Pero less numerous siya daw than the macrophage. And it peaks 1 week post-injury pa, no? And the only role na nakikita ng scientist is it signals the start of the next phase. So parang pag nakita na siya doon sa wound area, alam na papunta na to the next phase of wound healing. Okay? Parang marker lang siya. Okay? So next is yung second phase of wound healing, which is proliferation phase. This is the phase where fibroblasts, kung kanina ang bida, neutrophils and macrophages, no, and T lymphocytes. This phase, ang bida ngayon, fibroblasts. So it comes at day 4 to 12. The goal of this phase is to re-establish tissue continuity. Okay, so last to infiltrate the wound are your fibroblasts and your endothelial cells. Your fibroblasts are produced, they're the ones that produces collagen. No, so later on, mamaya makikita nyo na the wound healing all boils down to collagen formation. Mamaya na yun. So fibroblast muna sa proliferation phase. So the most common cell that comes in are your fibroblasts and also endothelial cells. Your fibroblast will produce the collagen. The endothelial cells will start your angiogenesis. Okay? So the most strongest chemotactic factor for fibroblasts are your PDGF. Ano bang, I'm assuming you know chemotactic factor is, di ba? Siya yung nagtatawag. Remember, I don't know, when I was in Tisho, Doktora Porsyungkula, I don't know if she's still around, if she's still your teacher in Tisho. But she's the one who told us to imagine, no, that the inflammatory phase daw is like a window, no, na may mga taong nagtatawag, parang barker sa jeep, if you're familiar with that, no. So yun yung PDGF, yung marker. Okay? Siya yung nagtatawag dun sa mga inflammatory cells to come through the fibril, yung mga fibrillins na yan. Okay, anyway, naalala ko lang si Doktor. Anyway, so yun, yung platelet-derived growth factor is the strongest, kumbaga, yun nga, tagapagtawag, strongest chemotactic factor for fibroblast. So if a patient has a wound and the immune system of that patient is very strong, ang daming PDGF granules na nandyan na lumalabas. Kasi nga siya yung nagtatawag sa fibroblast. Okay? So this is how I envision it to be. I'm just sharing this to you. So usually proliferation, yan, dadating sa wound yung fibroblast, and it will cause collagen formation. Then the endothelial cells will come in and will cause angiogenesis, no, and the restructuring and regrowth of your blood vessels. So, and that too, those fibroblasts and endothelial cells, they signal the start of your matrix formation and remodeling. No? So, siya yung nagsa-start na mag-cause ng closure ng wound. Pero first step pa lang siya. Okay? So, endpoint, nasasarahan yung wound. So, next is matrix synthesis. No? So, ito na yon. So, ang bida naman dito is your collagen, which is the most abundant protein in the body. We only need two. No, we will only talk about two factors that is very important for wound healing. But the body contains at least 18 types of collagen. No, so mind you, no. So our type 1 is the major component, no, which is also the mature form of collagen, the type 1. Okay, so type 3 is we can also claim it's the immature form. Okay, so there are several systemic factors that affects collagen formation. Number one is oxygen supply. If you can remember the collagen synthesis formation sa biochem, you need oxygen to form collagen. So, importante yung oxygen supply. If you don't have enough oxygen, hindi maganda ang magiging wound healing because of failed collagen formation. Okay? So, important yan. Another important factor is the presence of your sufficient nutrients and cofactors, yung vitamins and minerals. Later on, we will discuss more on these things, no? And lastly, local wound environment. Siyempre, dapat maganda yung blood supply and there is no infection para magkaroon ng magandang formation ng collagen. Kasi kung walang blood supply, walang source ng oxygen, di ba? Through the blood supply naman dumadating yung oxygen, di ba? Because of the carrying capacity of the RBC. I'm assuming, alam nyo na yan, ha? Physiology yan, basic. No? As you can note, siguro naman by now na notice nyo na, no, na surgery is or your or even the other subjects are just the application of your basic subjects. Okay, so surgery, you are here now. This is actually a collaboration of anatomy, physiology, and yung iba pa, no, biochemistry, pharma, no, pwedeng sama rin later. But mostly, para maintindihan niyo yung concepts, you have to have a firm grasp of physiology and anatomy, no, and biochemistry. Kaya sila basic subjects. Okay? So, siguro naman na-notice niyo na yun by now, no? So, kaya siya a step-by-step process din yung inyong learning in medicine. So, kailangan alam niyo muna yon before kayo tumalon sa mga basic subjects. Because yun nga, baka hindi niyo maintindihan yung advanced subjects or the major subjects kung hindi niyo ganun kayo naiintindihan yung basic. Normal naman yan, di ba? Ganun naman talaga. Anyway, so going back to matrix synthesis, yun na nga, major composition is your collagen and your major protein that is activated. So there are other non-collagenous proteins that are working hand in hand with collagen to promote the matrix synthesis. They are your proteoglycans, no? Siguro narinig niyo na yung mga glycosaminoglycans na yan, idermatan, mga chondroitin sulfate, 'di ba? Sa fish rin yan eh. No? So these are your non-collagenous proteins that help synthesize fibroblasts. Help synthesize collagen, no, because again by your fibroblasts. So paulit-ulit ko sinasabi ha, para mas mag-retain sa inyo. Your fibroblasts are the ones that produces your proteins and your non-collagen proteins and your collagen. Okay? So yun yung nangyayari. So this is a picture. So pagka nandun na sa matrix synthesis, pag nakita nila yung may fibroblast, may collagen type 3, may collagen type 1, may fibronectin in your proteoglycans, they know that the wound is already synthesizing its matrix, no, getting ready for remodeling. So ibig sabihin ng matrix synthesis, kumbaga sa hukay, imagine niyo may hukay, no? Yung matrix synthesis, yung pagbabara mo doon sa hukay na yun ng mga lupa, no, dadagdagan mo siya para pumatag ulit. Okay, para ma-fill in yung gap na nagawa ng sugat. So yun yung matrix synthesis. Okay? Next is your maturation and remodeling. So usually your maturation and remodeling, ito yung scar formation na tinatawag, no? Pero hindi pa yung mature scar. This is the start pa lang. So in this phase, there should be a net collagen content in the wound. So kanina, 'di ba, dun sa pagpasok ng neutrophils sa wound, kinakailangan niya na collagenase. Yun yung purpose nun. Kailangan kasing linisin niya muna yung area, and yung mga lumang collagen or nasirang collagen, tanggalin niya muna para magkaroon ng space yung bagong dadating na collagen. That's how your maturation and remodeling happens. Okay? So the key is there should be a positive net shift towards collagen synthesis rather than collagen lysis. Nagigets nyo? So, kailangan i-lyse muna yung collagen na nandoon para mabigyan ng space, para malagyan ng space for the additional collagen na ilalagay. And there should, dapat mas mataas yung production ng collagen compared dun sa lysis or yung pagsira dun sa lumang collagen. Okay? Kasi that will be the basis of your scar, your extracellular matrix, or your acellular collagen-rich scar. Okay? So, pagka hindi nangyari yon, nawala yung positive net shift, or ibig sabihin kasi nga dapat mas maraming collagen na bago ang ma-produce kesa ma-lyse yung collagen. Pag hindi naging mas marami yun, halimbawa na iba yung balance, napunta ang mas marami ang nagla-lyse kesa sa formation, walang magiging scar formation. No? So magiging problema yun. No? Mamaya pag-uusapan din natin yung mga pathologic scar formation. With this maturation and remodeling, another non-collagenous protein active is your matrix metalloproteinases. So they also, like collagenases, they also break down your collagen, no, for the maturation phase and remodeling. Okay? So important lang, wound strength and mechanical integrity are determined by the quantity and quality of the newly deposited collagen. Okay? So there should be a balance with the deposition of the new collagen and the degradation, or ang mas maganda nga daw, net positive shift to deposition rather than degradation. Logical naman, 'di ba? Madali naman siyang isipin, no? Kasi nga bago ka mag-form ng scar, yung acellular matrix or your extracellular matrix, kailangan mo nang maayos yung area. No? Kung hindi, syempre, hindi ka nga makakabuo ng scar. Okay? So, sa maturation and remodeling, there are, itong three proteins in play. No? Your fibronectin and your collagen type 3, which constitute your early matrix. No? So, yan yung scaffolding na sinasabi nga kanina, di ba? So, yan muna yung lalabas sa wound and then papasok yung glycosaminoglycans and your proteoglycans to fill in also the as component for the fillers, no? Fillers ng gap. Tapos eventually, they will develop to become your collagen type 1, which is the final matrix, which is the mature form of your wound, your extracellular matrix. So, nandun na tayo sa, kumbaga, nalagyan na ulit ng pack yung area na nahiwa, in saying so, no? So, yan na yung mismong nag-fill in. And then comes your fibril formation or cross-linking. Itong fibril formation and cross-linking, they are the ones that decrease the collagen solubility. So, pag nakita nyo na yung fibril dun sa wound, it decreases the solubility of the collagen. So, tinitigil niya na yung degradation process para ma-stabilize na yung process, yung mismong collagen matrix. It increases the strength of the collagen matrix and increases resistance to enzymatic degradation of the collagen matrix. Excuse me. So, yun yung purpose ng fibril cross-linking or formation. So, sa scientists, pag nakita nila yung fibrils sa wound, alam na nila na it's starting to mature na, no, and to remodel yung wound area. So, yung area na nahiwa, nalinis na, lagyan na ng laman, ngayon pinapatigas na lang nila. Kumbaga, parang ganon. Imagine it like that. So, again, the most important is the fibrillins. No? This is essential to the formation of your elastic fibers found in the connective tissue. So, which is also your collagen. So, remodeling continues up to 6 to 12 months post-injury. So, until a year, nagre-remodel pa rin yung sugat. No? So, ang endpoint is your scar. Ang mature form is avascular and acellular. That's the mature collagen type 1. Okay, so important din to note, comparing the strength, the tensile strength of a skin that was injured before, hindi na yun, kahit na mag-heal yun, it will not achieve the strength, tensile strength of the uninjured form ng tissue. Okay? Usually, alam ko, parang 80% lang yung highest tensile strength na marireach niya ng healed area. Okay? So, remember that. So, yung area na may scar is much loose yun, hindi yun strong, no? Walang tensile strength yun compared to the uninjured skin. Okay? Kaya nga it develops sometimes sa iba na nagkakaroon ng mga hernia through the abdominal scar, no? Kasi nga mas mahina yung tensile strength niya to hold the abdominal organs. Okay, so take note of that. And comes the last part or the final step in wound healing or in the establishment of tissue integrity, no? Which is epithelialization. So there are two types of cell that plays in this process, no? Usually yung proliferation and migration of the epithelial cells adjacent to the wound, yan yung process na ginangyayari. Kasi nga, they go back and attach to each other to close the area. No? Kaya nagkakaroon ng epithelialization na co-cover ulit yung nahiwang area. It begins within day 1 of injury seen as thickening of the epidermis. Usually, it extends up to at least around mga 2 months siguro, no? So, maybe those of you have already been operated on, napansin niyo yun, yung sa scar, tumitigas yun. Tapos usually bumabalik yung lambot niya around 2 months after. But yun nga, dito naman dalawang types ng cells ang bida, no? Si marginal and fixed basal cell. Si marginal cell, they are the ones that usually found in the dermis, no? So this is your epidermis. Can you see my pointer?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay. So this is your epidermis, this is your dermis, this is your hypodermis. Okay? So yung attachment sa yung marginal basal cells are those attachments in the dermis. So they enlarge and they begin to migrate across. So nagma-migrate siya towards each other to close that gap. Okay? Then the fixed basal cells naman, they are the ones found in the cut zone starting from the epidermis. No, yung cut zone mismo, yun naman, they usually are the ones that migrate towards each other naman. So those are the two types of cells that migrate towards each other to close the wound to start your epithelialization. Okay? Yung marginal cells, ang movement nila, they enlarge and they begin to migrate towards each other. Yung fixed basal cells, they para siyang leapfrog fashion yung kanyang movement papunta. So parang with pressure pinagdidikit niya yung wound, no? So kaya leapfrog fashion yung to close the defect. Okay? So take note of that. So your flat epithelial cells become more columnar and increases mitotic activity. So yun yung start na flat epithelial cells. Tapos pagka nga nag-migrate na siya towards each other, they become columnar again and they start to undergo mitosis, and the rest is alam niyo na, di ba? Yung formation ng mga types of your epidermal layers, no? Yung mga iba-ibang yon, no? Alam nyo na yan. And they are completed within 48 hours. No, for incised wounds to, ha. Siyempre, longer kung mas malaki. And yung 48 hours na yun yung sutured wounds, no? So, usually yung mga sinusuture natin, within 48 hours, they will start to epithelialize and heal. Pero syempre, longer dun sa ano. Have you had your SGD in wounds, yung mga wound infection? Did you have your SGD on that, Dr. Jason?
Alin po ulit, Doc?
Yung nag-SGD na kayo on wounds, yung mga wound healing and wound infection, types of surgical wound. Di ba na-discuss nyo na yun?
Doc, ano pa lang po, yung last SGD po, Management of Acute and Chronic Wounds po.
Yun, no, tama. Diniscuss nun yun, di ba? Yung types of wound, yung types of wound healing, yung first, secondary, intention, yung mga ganon. Tama? Tama ba? Okay. So, yun. Yun yung, ano niya. Kasi, ano rin yun, parang review lang din to. No? Later on, matatackle din natin yung mga diniscuss nyo doon. So, another one, important lang for split thickness skin graft donors or second degree burns. Ito kasi yung dalawang unique scenario. Yung split thickness skin graft and yung second degree burn, di ba usually yung mga yan, ang affected yung epidermal and dermal area, di ba? Yung first part ng dermis. So, pagka ganyan, nagkakaroon siya ng revitalization with minimal fibroplasia and granulation tissue formation. Kasi nga, nilalagyan mo na ng cover, no, with this two scenarios. So, hindi na niya kailangang mag-revitalize with fibroblast help kasi kino-cover mo na siya mismo. No? Kaya wala masyadong granulation tissue formation. Gets nyo ba yun? Yun lang yung dalawang scenario na walang epithelialization na process. Kasi nga, itong dalawang to, yung skin kinabit mo na mismo eh. Di ba? So, yung the graft donor site, kinabit mo na mismo yung skin. So, second degree burn, kinabitan mo rin siya ng cover, yung na-burn na area. So, yung re-epithelialization niya, it will include minimal fibroplasia na lang and granulation tissue formation. Kasi nga, kinover mo na. Unlike yung mga cut wounds, kailangan niya mag-epithelialize from the start. Okay? So, the wound healing process, parang yung, simula natin kanina, parang review. So, magsisimula siya sa wound, magyayari yung tatlong kailangan, sinabi natin, exposure to the cellular matrix, break in the skin, and break in the blood supply. So, nagkaroon na ng wound. Pag nagkaroon na ng wound, papasok ang mga inflammatory cells to clean up the wound. No? So, yan yung wound process. Ire-ready ng neutrophils yung area, dadating ang macrophages, magsisimula na ang fibroplasia and ang angiogenesis. Excuse me. Then, sa pagsisimula noon, it will come yung proliferation phase, signaled by the presence of your T lymphocytes. Okay? So, your proliferation phase will now start full blast on production of your fibroblast and your endothelial cells to promote collagen synthesis and angiogenesis. And then the remodeling phase will come in. All those other non-collagenous protein substances like your proteoglycans, your fibronectins, your together with your fibroblasts will fill in and the matrix collagen formation. And then comes your epithelialization, wherein your marginal cells and your fixed basal cells will help close the wound area. That's the whole wound healing process for you. Okay? So, ako naman, I'll share my process and growth as in the medical career, no, para medyo ma-relax lang ang inyong mga isip muna. Alam ko masyado ng information overload. So, relax muna kayo. This is not to brag, no? I just want to inspire, okay? So, I was too, like you, and a student, no? I believe it or not, I was BS Food Technology graduate of UST. Ang layo ng pre-med ko, no? Anyway, then I entered FEU because a lot of my relatives came from this school. That's why I chose FEU to have me as a student for the med school. Then I graduated in 2007, entered the Department of Surgery of the FEU 2009. 2010. I think 2010. Then after 2 years, I transferred to urology. No? Because sa urology kasi you have to have at least 2 years general surgery training before going to urology proper. Then I graduated at Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center with a subspecialization on urology. And I became a full-fledged diplomate of the Philippine Board of Urology. And then I became a fellow of the Philippine Urological Association. And here I am now. It's not actually alam nyo na naman na yun, no? Hindi naman talaga madaling proseso. But I tell you, it's all worth it. No? Lalo na pagka bukod dun sa monetary aspect, alam nyo na rin yun. No? uh, it's the satisfaction, no? Kaya it's really a noble profession. Kaya please don't quit, no? So kaya niyo yan. Lahat naman tayo naghihirap talaga. Walang ano yun, ano yung saying? Basta yun, parang parang ganun yung saying na pag hindi mo pinaghirapan, hindi mo ma-enjoy yung fruits ng labor mo. So, yun. That's the process that I went through, no? So, I hope you will also have the same or similar story with your journey, in your med life. And good luck and God bless. So, next, huwag na natin to pag-usapan kasi alam ko master nyo na to. Yung growth factors, no? Ni-review ko lang kasi baka nalimutan nyo na, no? Sa biochem kasi yan. So, these are your protein substances in the body that helps in the process. Actually, every process in the body, not just wound healing, no? So, ang important lang sa mga growth factors for a normal healing, internalization of the receptor ligand complex stops the signal. Yun yung importante. Okay? So, there is a process, alam nyo na yan, di ba? Yung mga ligand receptor binding na yan, no? Na dapat unique lang yung lock and key system, di ba? So unique lang siya to produce the biological response. No? So pag na-internalize na yung ligand receptor binding na yan, complex, doon na nagsa-stop yung process. No? So that's the importance kasi kung tuloy-tuloy yung signal, as we all know, di ba? Na i-ano natin sa ating tawag dito na yung process walang stop and go stop and start signal, ma-overflow yung mismong sistema, no? So magkakaroon ng mga defects. Mamaya malalaman niyo kung ano yung mga defects na yun. But again, dun sa book nyo, there is ano to sa Schwartz, no? I just noted it. There's a table 9-2, the types of growth factor in wound healing. Don't worry, hindi ako masamang tao para ipamemorize sa inyo lahat yan dahil ako rin mismo, hindi ko rin naman yan memorize. But I just want you to have, I want you to read this, no? And note yung mga, siguro, tip na lang sa exam. Yung mga paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, yun malamang lalabas yun. Okay? Clue lang, clue. Okay. So, next is wound contraction. Actually, wound contraction is still part of wound healing, but it's outside of the realm of the inflammatory phase na. So, kasi nga, closed na siya. No? So, yung wound contraction, dito naman sa process na to, ang bida, yung myofibroblast. No? They are the major cell responsible for wound contraction. Okay? So, ang ano lang niyan, imagine it na lang na yung wound na cover na, nagkaroon na ng scar, and minsan merong nangyayaring it still parang nandun pa rin yung movement na it goes migrates towards each other kaya siya nagko-contract. Okay? So, common yung mga wound contraction sa burns, di ba? Nakakita na kayo siguro ng mga burn patients. So, yun yung problem, no? Lalo na kung halimbawa, nag-burn yung fingers, nagkaroon ng wound contraction, dumikit, no? Yun yung mga nagiging problem. Pero usually, wound contraction is brought about by yung myofibroblast. So, usually then, they happen 6 to 21 days of wound healing but fades after 4 weeks due to the apoptosis. So another way of the body to stop process is your apoptosis or your programmed cell death, diba? So that's the part of your wound contraction. Now we go to the connective tissue disorders or your collagen or your fibrillins or your other non-collagen protein defects in the body that affects wound healing. Okay, there are 5. Let's start with EDS. It's a genetic defect encoding your alpha chain of the collagen type 5. So tandaan niyo yan ha. Every disease entity may type na involved. Merong genetic defect involved. So remember these things. Okay? So usual classic EDS findings or your Ehlers-Danlos syndrome findings, yan yung picture. Friable skin, prominent veins, easy bruising, poor wound healing, atrophic scar formation, recurrent hernias, and hyperextensible joints. Yan na yun, no? Lahat yan, yung picture. So I know you will have a copy of this. So yan, para lang may mental picture kayo. So with the gastrointestinal tract, with EDS patients, usually common sa kanila bleeding, hiatal hernias, intestinal diverticular, and rectal prolapse. No? So with these types of patients, they also check for EDS. Baka kasi yun yung problem. So for the blood vessels naman, ang common manifestation, for the small blood vessels, they are very fragile. So merong iba, yung mga capillary network sa katawan, mabilis siya burst, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga easy bruising, yung mga nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong picture. Yan, sa balat, parang konting madikit mo lang, mahataw mo lang, nagkakaroon na ng pasa. No? So, nagiging very, very fragile. Sa large blood vessels naman, can cause aneurysms. So, it can also lead to varicosities. Dahil ang lalaki niya, magkakadikit yung artery and vein, nagkakaroon ng fistula formation. No? So, nagkakaroon din ng spontaneous rupture. So, yun yung mga effects ng EDS. So, in your book also, there's a tabulation there of the 11 types of EDS. No? So, read on this and malamang may lumabas din dyan, but don't worry. Usually, di ba, marunong na ba kayong mag-aral ng table? Always check on yung kakaiba. Yung kasulad nito, lahat AD, lahat not known. Malamang hindi yan itanong. Di ba? Yung mga kakaiba, yun ang mas i-take note nyo. Pero syempre, you have to know everything pa rin. So, you also suspect EDS with children having recurrent hernias and bleeding problems or coagulopathies kasi baka mamaya EDS pala yun. So, you would know how to treat it. So, closing wounds in EDS patients, you use 2-layer suturing to make it more strong. Approximate sutures under tension para hindi magdehis or bumukas. You leave the sutures in place twice as long as usual. So, if the usual is a week, 5 days to 7 days, tatanggalin mo na yung suture, you leave it up to 2 weeks para mas maganda yung healing muna bago mo tanggalin. Kasi nga, with EDS patients, pangit yung wound healing. Baka pag tinanggal mo ng sutures yon, bumuka yun. Okay? So I found this in the internet. I hope it can help you picture what EDS is. No? So, ano nyo na lang to. Aralin nyo na lang yan. Next is Marfan syndrome. So ito naman yan, ang kanyang manifestation. So tall, arachnodactyly, myopia, scoliosis, pectus excavatum, aneurysms, and hernias, hyperextensibility of the skin. But ito yung malaking difference niya with EDS. There is no wound healing problem. Why? Because there's no problem in the collagen formation. Di ba si ano kasi collagen type 5 yung problem niya eh. Si Marfan, fibrillin lang. Ano bang fibrillin? Di ba sabi natin kanina, fibrillin ang co-compact, no? Kasi siya yung taga-dala ng mga mga fibroblast, di ba? So nagiging maganda yung collagen formation na nako-compact kaya nagiging strong yung tensile strength ng wound healing. But with Marfan syndrome, wala yun. So may collagen but it's very loose. Kaya hindi Hindi nadidelay yung wound healing dahil may collagen formation, kaya lang loose siya. Kaya yan yung mga nangyayari. Very tall kasi yung mga buto, yung osteogenesis niya affected din, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. I also found this in the internet. Hope it can help you. No, it's parang ano nga ang tawag sa mga ganyan, yung clue. Ang dami kong ganyan dati nung nag-aaral ako for boarding exam. So, yan. I hope it can help you. Next is OI or your osteogenesis imperfecta. Ito naman, mutation in collagen type 1 itself. Kaya ang daming problem. Brittle bone, osteopenia, low muscle mass, hernias, ligament joint laxity. No? So, but mind you, OI patients can also live a long life. Ano naman siya, compatible naman siya. Not all are mga dreaded to die at an early age. No? Basta maalagaan lang ng mabuti, they can also have a prolonged life. No? So there's also a table in the book with OI naman. They have 4 types. So I just want to show you yung mga types na yun. Yan, yung mga blue eyes, no, and the gray eyes, no. There's such a thing, you know. Kasi yung iba akala it's ibang problem. So if you see blue eyes and gray eyes, it's usually OI patients, no. Pero unless syempre yung nagpatato, may mga uso na ngayon, di ba, na nagpapatato ng sclera. Next, EB or your epidermolysis bullosa. So ito naman, they have 4 types. Yung types niya based on the affected area of the skin. So pag simplex, epidermis lang. Pag junctional, EB, lamina lucida. Pag dystrophic, hanggang lamina densa. Pag Kindler syndrome, it affects all of the layers of the skin. Okay? So usual manifestations, tissue adhesion within the epidermis, impairment, basement membrane, dermis results to tissue separation. No? So usual finding is blistering and ulceration. Ito naman, defect in collagen 7. So tandaan lahat yon, lalabas yan. And usual surgical treatment, pagka kasi may EB, common sa kanila yung esophageal stricture. So ang ginagawa, esophageal dilatation and tube gastrostomy placement. No? Kaya yun yung ginagawa. Usual kasi problem din sa mga EB patients, nutritional status nila bagsak kasi nga hindi makakain because of oral erosions, no, and yung esophageal obstruction. So ito yung mga picture nila. Yan. So usually blisters. Next, acrodermatitis enteropathica. It's an autosomal recessive disease with a genetic defect on chromosome 8q24.3. Don't worry, hindi ako masamang tao, di ko rin kabisado yan. Importante lang, alam nyo, pag acrodermatitis enteropathica, zinc deficiency. Okay? Impaired granulation tissue formation. Yun yung basic. Kasi nga, inability to absorb sufficient zinc from breast milk or food. Yun yung problem. With zinc kasi, it plays a great role in granulation tissue formation. So, wound healing. So, nagkakaroon ng impaired wound healing. No? So, yan. Mga erythematous pustular dermatitis involving extremities and around body orifices. Why sa body orifices? Is there anyone who can answer? Isa lang to. Bigyan ko ng 100 for the next SGB. Anyone know why? Ito yung picture niya. Oh. Kadalasan sa mga area of the orifices of the body. Eyes, nose, mouth, ears, anus, penis, and yung urethra and vagina. Why do you think doon sa areas na yun? Any guess? Wild guess? Wala. Research nyo. Sige na nga, sabihin ko na nga. pwede siya kasi yung mga orifices of the body, usually yan yung may mga transition ng pagbabago ng cell types, di ba? From columnar, from squamous, nagiging columnar, yung mga ganon. So, yung areas na yun, pag na-damage at napasukan ng wound or any area, hindi siya agad-agad mag-heal kasi nga impaired yung healing process. So, dun nagtatagal. So, ang diagnosis is low blood zinc level, less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Anong management? So, oral supplementation of zinc. Kasi nga, hindi siya na-absorb through the food. So, you have to give 100 to 400 milligrams per day para ma-push yung zinc sa katawan. Okay? So, this is a green screen para lang at least meron kayong relaxation ng inyong mata for ilang seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, wound healing in specific tissues. Malapit na tayo matapos. Ilang topics na lang to. So, sa wound healing specific tissues, it's also noted that, yun na nga sabi ko kanina when I started, the whole body has generally the same pattern of wound healing. Medyo nag-iiba lang yung dulo. No? For example, itong mga to, iba-iba yung ways niya of healing. No? So, iisa-isahin natin. So, GI tract, repair and healing of the tract is essential, syempre, for absorption, barrier, and motor function ng ating gastrointestinal tract. Pag wala yan, wala tayong nutrition. So, very, very important yung healing niya. But for the gastrointestinal tract, if there's a wound somewhere along the way, the usual and initial step of healing is reapposition. So, you have to close that wound. No? You have to, kung may naputol dun sa, nahiwa dun sa bituka, you have to suture it back, no, para magkaroon ulit ng continuity. Okay? Usually ginagamit yan through suturing or yung pagka-laparoscopic, yung laparoscopic type of this one, yung stapler. Okay? No, sutures and staples are very, very important. Pagka kasi hindi yan nagawa, it can also lead to failure of healing, yung dehiscence, ito, nabuka yung wound mo. Leaks and fistulas, no? So, yun yung mga nagiging problem with GI pagka merong problema ang healing. Pag hindi 100% ang wound healing dyan, it can lead to dehiscence, leaks, and fistulas. Excessive healings naman, it can lead to strictures naman and stenosis of the lumen. So, yung stricture and stenosis, yung sumara, yung lumen. Okay? So, it's two different spectrum, no? The other one, failure, it can lead to a problem. The other one naman, excessive, it can also lead to a problem. So, always dapat balance lang, nasa gitna lang. It's still based on the balance and the net positive effect of collagen synthesis. No? So, sa GI tract, the submucosal layer is the most important aspect, no, nung layer ng GI. Because it has the greatest tensile strength and the greatest suture holding capacity. So, when suturing, dapat umabot yung bite mo dun sa submucosal layer. So, sa serosal healing, it very important to achieve watertight seal. Kasi dahil, alam niyo naman, sa bituka, dumadaan ang lahat, pati ang fluids. Kung hindi ka na magwa-watertight seal doon, mag-leak yun. When leaks happen, alam niyo na, no? Problem yan. No? It can cause infection. Yung mga deep space organ infection. No? So, difference with cutaneous healing, sa serosal or mesothelial and yung mucosal healing, there is no scarring. Kaya walang nakikitang scar masyado sa bituka. Okay? So, yun ang maganda doon. Important then, note to significant decrease in marginal strength during the first week, yung collagenolisis at 3 to 5 days. So, yan yung sa mga surgeons, yan yung iniintay nila pag nagkaroon sila ng mga surgery of the GI tract. Critical period yan kasi that's the day na pwedeng mag-leak because of the decrease in marginal strength, because of collagenolisis. So binabantayan niya ang mga pasyente na yan during those days. So in your book also na merong comparison ng GI tract and skin wound healing. So just browse through this, no? So important na malaman nyo rin yan. So technical considerations, usually sa anastomosis to heal without complications, you have to follow the technical considerations. It should be tension-free, adequate blood supply, adequate nutrition, and no infection or free of sepsis. But to date, there is no ideal method of bowel anastomosis. Yun ang isang importante. So usually the surgeons just pick kung saan sila comfortable na gamitin na technique, no, because there is no scientific evidence na nagsasabi na one technique is superior to the other. So any type of method or technique in bowel anastomosis is acceptable. Importante lang alam mo, master mo yung technique na yun. So as a surgeon, you have to master at least one technique in doing bowel anastomosis. So next is the bone. So pinadali ko na buhay nyo, nandiyan na lahat yan. Alamin nyo na lang first, second, third, fourth, or fifth stage. Okay? So first stage, usually, logical din naman. Siyempre, mag-hematoma. Second stage, ililiquify. Kasi parang second stage, yung sa wound healing, di ba? Dadating yung mga polymorphonuclears, lilinisin yung area. So ililiquify and degrade yung mga dumi or your non-viable products. Then revascularization comes in, no? So that's the stage of inflammation. Third stage, 3 to 4 days post-injury, formation of soft callus, no? So diyan nagsisimulang mawala na yung pain. So fourth stage, yan yung hard callus formation, 2 to 3 months post-injury. It is where you can ask for a repeat x-ray. Dun makikita healed na yung bone. Yun yung fourth stage. Fifth stage is the remodeling phase for the bone. This is where the bone regains its natural contours. So yan, alamin nyo yung stages na yan, makakasagot kayo sa exam. Kung sa mga sa wound, yung metalloproteinases, yung matrix metalloproteinases, yung nagkakos ng formation of collagen. Sa bone, meron din yung BMPs, your bone morphogenic proteins. They help your stimulate differentiation of your mesenchymal cells para maging chondroblast and osteoblast, which will in the future become your cartilage and bone, respectively. Okay, so the growth factors involved are your PDGF, TGF beta, TNF alpha, and your beta fibroblast growth factor. Okay, so these are examples of bone injuries. So this one is an MMA fighter, Anderson Silva, who had a, kadire. And another one, an NBA player, I forgot the name, who had his bone, yan, kadire. Anyway, so cartilage naman, so this is a very avascular structure. So nutrition is through diffusion in hypervascular perichondrium. Ang ibig sabihin nun, ito kasi ang cartilage. So kung mapapansin nyo, sa area na to, walang blood supply. Ang blood supply nandito pa sa ilalim. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Diba? We can clearly correlate that yung healing nung first part, walang inflammation kasi walang blood supply eh, 'di ba? Usually the blood is the one that starts and where your inflammatory cells comes from. So sa cells ng chondrocytes ng cartilage, yung kasing kanyang extracellular matrix, more of proteoglycans, collagen fibers, and water ang laman. So superficial injuries will result to no inflammation. So mas slow ang healing. and usually permanent ang defect compared to the deep injuries kasi may inflammation, mayroon siyang wound healing. Okay, yun lang yung difference niya. So, superficial healing is inadequate and incomplete regeneration, while your deep injuries, they incite inflammation. So, they can have full wound healing and the structural restoration and functional integrity. So, this is an example of cartilage injury. This is a normal cartilage. This is the injured cartilage. Nowadays, in the era of minimally invasive surgery, we can do this already. The arthroscope, which can you can do the orthopedic surgeons can do minimally invasive approaches to cartilage surgeries through the arthroscopy. Next, tendons and ligaments. Ano ba muna ang difference ng tendons and ligaments? Okay, ang tendons, they connect muscle to bone. Okay? Ligaments, they connect bone to bone. Important yan ha. That will always be a general question for interns. So, alamin niyo yun ha. So, tendons and ligaments differ from each other. But injuries, they share the same injuries. They can have lacerations, ruptures, and contusions. Their matrix composition is type 1 and 3 collagen, water, DNA, and glycosaminoglycans. Okay? So, yung hypervascular tendons, they heal less with less motion and more scar formation. So, kaya pagka tendons, di ba, yung mga injury na ganyan, kinakast, immobilize. Okay? Because that's the term doon. And that's how they heal through less motion. So tenocytes, these are the specialized cells metabolically active and can retain large regenerative potential even in the absence of vascularity. So yan naman yung unique sa tendons, yung tenocytes. Kasi even without inflammatory reactions, they can heal. Okay? So this is a picture of injured ligament. No? Yung mga usual areas of pagka nagkakaroon ng ganitong pronation injury. So yeah. Nerve, last aspect. So sa nerve, tatlo lang naman ang types of injury. Pag focal demyelination, neuropraxia. Axonotmesis, pagka disruption of the whole axonal body and the Schwann cell. Pero may Schwann cell. Ito yung Schwann cells. And neurotmesis, complete transection. Wala talagang natira. Naputol lahat. Okay? So, you have to know those three types of neuronal injuries para at least medical ang usapan, alam niyo yan. So, there are three crucial steps to regenerate nerves, no? Una, there should be survival of the axonal bodies. Pag wala kasi ang axonal bodies na yan, wala na yan. Hindi na yan magre-regenerate. Regeneration of axons that grow across the transected nerve to reach the distal stump. Dapat ma-reach yung dulo, ma-connect uli to preserve the injury para pati yung sensation meron. Migration and connection of regenerative nerve ends to the appropriate nerve ends or end organ targets. So, those are the three things that should is very important or crucial to regenerate the nerve. Pagka hindi na survive yung tatlong steps na yan, wala nang mangyayari. Magiging yung area na yon, lalo na sa mga hinihiwa sa skin, mapapansin nyo yung mga na-operahan na dyan, yung area na nahiwa na yon is completely wala nang pakiramdam. Di ba? So, yun ang nangyayari. So, the Valerian degeneration, Schwann cells, yan. Ito yung mga complex interplay of growth factors and mga adhesion molecules. No, sila yung nag-help ng process to regenerate. So, yung Valerian degeneration, yan yung phagocytosis. No? They remove the degenerating axons and myelin sheath from the distal stump. Yan yung first step. Then the Schwann cells will help it will envelope and remyelinate the regenerating axon. So kakabitan niya na ulit yon. So yung mga growth factors involved, ito na yon, sinulat ko na lahat dyan. So just read on this. And your adhesion molecules. So these are all working together to regenerate reinnervation para yung naputol na axons umabot dun sa target nerve endings ng cell. Okay? Para mabalik ang nerve conduction. So now let's go to fetal wound healing. So the main difference of adult from fetal wound is the so-called transition wound. No? Una, it lacks scar formation, kaya faster ang healing. Early fetal healing characterized by the absence of scarring and it resembles tissue regeneration. Later on, discuss natin why. So transition wound, they are early third trimester. Doon nakikita yung mga yan. Scarless healing. Why? Kasi nga, ayan, later, i-discuss ko isa-isa. Loss of ability to regenerate skin appendages. Kaya ang nangyayari, parang, kaya regeneration. Hindi wound healing yung nangyayari. Kaya ang ganda-ganda ng healing ng fetal wound. No? Yan yung 4D ko nung baby ako. De joke lang, wala pang 4D nung time ko. Characteristics that may influence the differences between fetal and adult wounds. Ito yung 4. Una kasi ang fetal wound, dahil yung fetal environment niya, sterile, temperature stable, yung fluid surrounding the fetus, yun yung isang maganda nagkakos ng magandang wound healing. Okay? Reduced fetal inflammation dahil ang baby, yung fetus, wala pang masyadong immune system yan, immature pa. So they lack that step, yung inflammatory step. So walang scarring. Okay? Next, ang reason din, growth factor. Wala siyang transforming growth factor beta. Yung transforming growth factor beta, it has a significant role in scar formation. Sa fetal wound, walang TGF beta. Okay? They lack TGF beta. So, walang scarring. Wound matrix niya is excessive and extended hyaluronic acid production ng wound matrix. Ang dami-daming hyaluronic acid. Ano ba yung hyaluronic acid? If you will go back to your collagen formation, hyaluronic acid is one step in that process. Kaya yung wound matrix niya, punong-puno ng collagen and fibroblasts and glycosaminoglycans. Kaya ang ganda. Kaya nga sinasabi, it resembles regenerated tissue. It does not resemble any scar formation. Kaya yun ang maganda sa fetal wound. Okay? Remember that. Classification of wounds, acute and chronic. Alam nyo na to. Na-discuss nyo to sa SGD. Acute wound, maximal wound strength. Usually yan nakukuha yan at 6th week of wound healing. But it will only achieve up to 80% of the normal tissue strength. Yun yung sinabi ko kanina. It cannot get back its usual tensile strength. No? So, important to note then, impaired wound healing can be caused by diabetes, chronic steroid use, tissue damage, through radiotherapy. So yan yung mga pwedeng mag-cause ng delayed wound healing. So mamaya isa-isahin natin yung reasons na yan. Pero yun nga, acute wound healing would entail the process of connective tissue deposition, contraction, and epithelialization. So ito, alam nyo na to, types of wound, yung primary intention healing, secondary, tertiary. No? So, syempre, katulad sinabi ko kanina, mas madaling mag-heal yung wound kung sinuture. Kasi yung epithelialization, pinaglapit mo na. Di ba? Yung contraction, pinaglapit mo na agad yung wound. So, mas mabilis na siya magdidikit. Sa open wounds naman, it would require tissue contraction, connective tissue deposition, and epithelialization. Kaya yung mga secondary intention healing, yung iiwan mo siyang mag-heal na lang mag-isa, mas matagal. Okay? So, last topic before we go to the suturing, factors affecting wound healing. Ito naman, all these things from this point on will only lead to collagen formation. Yun lang talaga eh. Yun ang number one factor that affects wound healing. And all these things can be related to that. Una, age. Advanced age. Decreased yung non-collagenous protein accumulation. Ibig sabihin, yung mga non-collagenous protein, yung mga fibroblast, yung mga proteoglycans, glycosaminoglycans, yung mga yon, lahat yon, decrease pagka in advanced age sa matatanda. So, dahil mababa yung mga yon, lalo na yung fibroblast, magkakaroon ka ng impaired mechanical scarring kasi walang collagen formation, di ba? So it boils down to collagen formation. Okay? So ayan, pinakita ko na rin dito sa inyo yung mismong collagen formation na matrix. Ayan. So hypoxia, anemia, hypoperfusion, lahat din yan related to collagen formation. Bakit? Hypoxia, oxygen deprivation yan. Anemia, kulang ka sa dugo. So, di ba, as we all know, your RBCs are your oxygen carriers. Okay? So, kung kulang ka sa RBC, anemic ka, bagsak din yung oxygen content. Hypoperfusion, yun namang reduce naman ang blood flow to that area. So, kung reduce yung blood flow, wala ka ring source ng oxygen. So, lahat siya related. Alam naman natin, oxygen is the most important ingredient in the hydroxylation steps in forming collagen. So, again, connected na naman siya sa collagen synthesis. Okay? So, anything that deprives the body of oxygen can cause impaired wound healing because of the collagen synthesis formation is affected. Steroids, direct effect niya reduces collagen synthesis and wound strength. Kaya affected din ang wound healing. No? So, lahat pa. It also inhibits an inflammatory phase. It inhibits epithelialization and contraction. Contributes to wound infection. So, ang dami niyang effect ng steroids. No? So, it boils down pa rin sa collagen formation. Chemotherapeutic drugs, direct effect din niya, inhibits early cell proliferation, wound DNA and wound protein synthesis. So, lahat ng inflammatory process affected din niya. Decreased fibrin deposition. So, di ba, alam natin your fibrins, they cause yung chemotaxis of your inflammatory cells into the wound area. Dahil nga nag-chemotherapy ka, bagsak yun. Delays wound contraction also. So, affected ang wound healing. So important to note, if you are using steroids or your glucocorticoids, you have to the steroids used after the first 3 to 4 days post-injury do not affect wound healing, no, as severely as immediately post-operative. So ibibigay mo siya dapat at day 5. Okay? Para hindi pwedeng kinabukasan, bibigay ka agad nung pagkakaroon ng sugat, bibigay ka kaagad ng glucocorticoids kasi nga immediate post-operative period, maapektuhan yung wound healing. So you have to give the glucocorticoids, you have to give the patient that back at around days 3 to 4 days post-injury. So safest na yung day 5. Use agents that has lesser anti-inflammatory effect or give vitamin A as a countermeasure. So kung hindi talaga kayang hindi ibigay yung glucocorticoids, you have to give vitamin A para matulungan yung inflammatory aspect of wound healing. Sa chemotherapeutic drugs naman, you have to delay it for 2 weeks after the injury kasi extravasation into the wound or any form na mapunta yung chemotherapeutic drug na yun dun sa tissue would cause necrosis and ulceration and protracted healing na naman. Okay? So remember those things. Pwede itanong siyan. Next, metabolic disorders. Ito naman, it can lead to problems in wound healing by specific reasons. Number 1, sa DM. So, yan ang number 1 metabolic syndrome na problem, yung diabetes. It can increase rates of wound infection and failure. Una, wound infection kasi nga ang daming glucose sa katawan na unused, di ba? So as we all know, bacteria feed on glucose. So yung buong katawan ng diabetic patient is prone for infection. Tapos, it results to reduce inflammation and angiogenesis and collagen synthesis. Kaya, nagkakaroon din ng protracted wound healing. Okay? DM's hallmark, yung large and small vessel diseases. It can cause hypoperfusion and local hypoxemia. Again, relating to decrease in oxygen. So, yung collagen synthesis, bagsak. So, pangit na naman ang wound healing. Other effects niya, defect in granulocyte function, capillary ingrowth, fibroblast proliferation. All affects your wound healing. Insulin resistance, usually, di ba, sa diabetes, may nagkakaroon ng insulin resistance. And insulin restores collagen synthesis and granulation tissue formation to normal. So kung yung patient may insulin resistance, hindi niya nagagamit yung insulin, hindi nagkakaroon ng collagen synthesis na apektuhan niya yung effect sana ng insulin sa healing. Uremia, it's associated naman with decreased wound collagen synthesis and wound strength. So it impairs defenses for infection. So yan naman yung direct effect ng uremia sa metabolic disorders. Obesity, it leads to development of metabolic syndromes. So, di ba, yun nga daw ang gateway to the metabolic disorders pagka mataba ng isang tao. So, sa lahat ng matataba dyan, mag-diet na tayo. Management is, syempre, preoperative correction of blood sugar levels kung diabetes, increase inspired oxygen tension para dumami yung oxygen supply ng katawan, antibiotics para mawala yung infection, and correction of existing metabolic abnormalities like yung uremia or yung insulin resistance. So, kailangan i-tackle yung mga issues na yan para maibalik yung good wound healing. And nutrition, isa pa rin to, pero no-brainer na to, di ba? Alam naman na nating lahat na wound healing is directly related to nutritional status of a patient. Pag pangit ang nutritional status ng patient, pangit ang wound healing. Poor nutrient intake or lack of it alters many aspects of wound healing. It decreases hydroxyproline accumulation. If you notice, yung formation of collagen, isang step doon yung hydroxyproline accumulation. So pagka wala yan, pag bumaba yung hydroxyproline na yan, bagsak din ang collagen deposition. Okay, so again, connected na naman siya sa collagen synthesis. Sabi ko sa inyo paulit-ulit, wound healing is collagen synthesis. Okay? Protein calorie malnutrition. So, alam na natin yan, di ba? Yung sa mga discuss sa biochem, no? Yung marasmus, di ba? Yung mga gayon. Impaired healing and cell-mediated immunity ang affected pag meron kang protein calorie malnutrition. Phagocytosis affected. Di ba? Yun nga ang simula ng inflammatory, di ba? Response, yung phagocytosis. Intracellular killing of bacteria by the macrophages and their neutrophils. Affected din pag wala kang, pagka may protein calorie malnutrition ka. Okay? So, no-brainer naman pag sinabing nutrition. Alam na natin lahat yan. So, now we go to the roles of your amino acids, nutrients, minerals, and trace elements. Nilagay ko na dito para mas-simplify ang inyong pag-aaral. So, I hope papasa kayo sa exam ko, ha? So, arginine muna, yan, diniretso ko na dyan. It enhances wound fibroplasia. Wound collagen deposition, improves wound strength. Yun yung effect niya. So, pagka nagkaroon ka ng deficiency sa arginine, mawawala lahat yung mga benefits na yan. Sa vitamin C naman, yung deficiency na, which is called scurvy, failure in collagen synthesis directly, pati yung cross-linking. Kaya, nagkakaroon din ng deficiency in wound healing. And it also causes wound infection. So, ang regulatory daily, recommended daily allowance niya, sabi sa book is 60 milligrams per day. But, according to other sources, 500 milligram of vitamin C a day is also enough. So vitamin A naman, sabi na natin kanina, it counters the effects of the steroids. So it increases, ang purpose niya dahil it increases inflammatory response. So kinokontrol niya yung effect ng steroids. Directly increases collagen production and EGF receptors. So kailangan siya, kaya maganda siya sa wound healing. So, usually ako with my patients, after the operation, I give vitamin C with zinc and also vitamin A supplementation to help them. No? Then, finally, yung zinc deficiency, na-discuss na natin kanina yon, di ba, sa isang problem, no? Yung zinc deficiency. No? So, zinc supplementation lang din ng management. Okay? So, next factor is infection. Alam na rin natin, successful surgeries fail due to wound infection. Kasi nga, minsan, yun ang ganda-ganda ng surgery, pero post-operatively, hindi nalagaan, nag-infect. So, ayan ang mga nangyari. It can cause dehiscence or hernias, no, yung mga yan. So, you have to know the 4 types of surgical wounds. Na-discuss nyo na yan sa SGD nyo. And the 3 types of wound infection, na-discuss nyo na rin yun doon, I'm assuming, no? Yung superficial, deep, and organ space wound infection. Okay? So, ang nangyayari cosmetically, disfiguring, unsightly, or delayed closure. So, tumatagal ang length of stay in the hospital, tumataas ang medical cost. So, yun yung nagiging cost ng pangit na effect ng infection. So, you have to differentiate these 3 terms: contamination, colonization, and infection. They are, mind you, not interchangeable to each other. Ibang ang definition nilang tatlo. So, master these 3. So, next sources of infection, endogenous flora, yan, tatlo: skin, mucous membranes, and hollow organs. Common pathogens in order of frequency. So, Staphylococcus, Coagulase cons, yung Enterococci, and your E. coli. So, diagnosis, usually ang signs and symptoms for post-surgical infection, nagkakaroon ng post-op low-grade fever, nagkakaroon ng leukocytosis, nagkaka-pain sa incision site, or edema, erythema of the suture staple line. Management, you really have to open that wound para ma-drain kung meron mang nag-accumulate na fluid. And you have to give systemic antibiotics within certain devices para ma-cover yung mga antibiotics, yung mga infection na nandun. And eventually, you have to close the wound. So, in your book, there's also a table of your antibiotic prophylaxis for surgery. So, again, di ako masamang tao para i-memorize sa inyo yan. Di ko rin alam lahat yan. Pero you have to know the most common. Alam nyo na yun. Ha? So, alamin nyo yung mga common na ginagawa or naririnig nyo sa surgery na bread and butter. Okay? So, alamin nyo lang yung mga recommended antimicrobials and dosage. Next, we go to the special infections. Nakakaiba talaga, no? So, with this one, the necrotizing fasciitis, the most dangerous of all these infections, no? So, it is a very invasive infection, involves the fascia. So, very deep yung inaabot niya. No, results in high mortality in elderly, presentation, toxic, high fever, tachycardic, marked hypovolemia. So, septic talaga yung pasyente. So, sa skin, ang PE mo, usually hemorrhagic bullae, ayan, yung mga ganyan. Frank necrosis, yung ganito. No? Surrounding areas of inflammation and edema. Okay? So, usual necrotizing fasciitis is your Fournier's gangrene, no? Usually sa perineum. So, isa yan. So, usually yan, mixed infection, kaya ang treatment, broad spectrum antibiotics. And you have to take out all those dead cells. No, yung mga yan, lahat yan, dapat tanggalin mo. So, prompt debridement. Usually, yung iba, inaabot ng paulit-ulit na pasok sa OR para lang matanggal lahat yung mikrobyo na yan. Next is chronic wound. Chronicity of the wound, usually yung sabi sa libro, not healed in 3 months, but chronicity is indicated at 1 month or 4 weeks. So, yan na lang ang ating gamitin for exam purposes. Magulo kasi yung libro nyo eh. So, sa akin, mas maganda yung 1 week. Pagka umabot na ng 1 week, ng 4 weeks na hindi pa nag-heal yon, chronic wound na yun. Okay? So there are a lot of types of chronic wounds yung na, na meron sa ating na commonly nakikita sa mga patients, no? But the other factors for chronicity, pwedeng repeated trauma, poor perfusion or oxygenation, and excessive inflammation. So yan yung mga causes. So let's discuss them one by one, mabilisan lang. Ischemic arterial ulcer, okay? So lack of blood supply, kadalasan common to yung sa mga paod patients or yung peripheral occlusive disease, no, na mga usually sa smokers. Masakit yung mga yan kasi nga namamatay yung dulo. So claudication due to too little blood flow, yun yung cause ng pain niya. Okay, claudication. Cite the most common distal portions of extremities, no? So usually diminished or absent pulses, poor granulation tissue formation. Management, revascularization, syempre wound care. Next, venous stasis ulcer. Ang problem naman dito, yung failure to reepithelialize. Kadalasan painless ulcerations yan. The most common, most significant finding in PE is your lipodermatosclerosis or the brownish pigmentation of skin combined with loss of subcutaneous fat. Yung area na yan. That's the lipodermatosclerosis. Usual location is the medial malleolus over the coccus perforators. Management, compression, and wound care para compress para nga mag-reepithelialize. Next, diabetic wounds usually found 10 to 25% of patients usually because of diabetes and elevated glucose level. So most common finding is your Charcot foot due to motor neuropathy leads to collapse or dislocation of the interphalangeal or metatarsobphalangeal joints. Kaya nagkakaroon ng ganitong deformity. Okay? So, other major factors in developing diabetic ulcers, most common neuropathy, 60 to 70% of patients experience this. Ischemia, 15 to 20%, and foot deformity at number 3. Management, you normalize the blood sugar level, syempre, kasi nga, because of the diabetes yung problem. And you eradicate infection para mawala para mag-heal. Okay? Next, decubitus ulcer. Ito pinaka-common. Marami na siguro sa inyo nakakita nito. Excuse me. So, ito yung mga bed sores. Okay? So, usually localized area of tissue necrosis because of compression of soft tissue between bony prominences. So, factors, yan, presence of friction, shear forces, moisture, immobility, altered activity level, altered mental status, nutrition status, and chronic conditions. Yung nga, yung mga bedridden, sa kanila yan nakikita. There are 4 stages. Alamin nyo na lang. Nandiyan na lahat. Okay? Alin dyan, which is which. Stage 1 to stage 4. So management is debridement of all necrotic tissues kasi kailangan nga para mag-heal, tanggalin mo muna lahat ng mga maduduming tissues. Maintain favorable moist wound environment, relief of pressure, usually pinapa-turn siya side to side every 2 hours or you provide the patient with an egg mattress bed para nakakahinga yung areas ng skin. And you have to address the host factors, nutritional, metabolic, and circulatory status. Now, yung other end of the spectrum naman is the excessive healing. Sobrang healing naman. So, you produce your hypertrophic scar or your keloids. So, ano ba yung difference nila? We have to differentiate these two. No? So, yan ang difference. Clinical manifestation. Mamaya, isa-isay natin yan. So, yan yon sa skin. Pwede siyang debilitating scar or mawala yung function because of this, yung contractions. Tendons, the freeze, di ba? Yung mga frozen shoulder. GI, strictures or stenosis, nagbara. Sa solid organs naman, namamatay, yung cirrhotic. Yung pwedeng pulmonary or liver cirrhosis. Okay? And sa peritoneal cavity, pwedeng adhesions inside the peritoneal, in the abdomen. So, yan yung mga pwedeng maging excessive healing problems. So, isa-isahin natin, hypertrophic scar, ito yung difference nila ha. Alamin niyo yung difference. Sa book, meron ding sinabi doon na difference ng dalawa. Okay? So, ayan. Ang hypertrophic scar, it follows the wound area. While yung keloids, yun, hindi niya sinusundan yun, yung wound area. Nag-ano siya, it expands throughout the border. No, and usually rarely regresses, kaya pangit talaga yung keloids, no. So both nangyayari yan after trauma to the skin. Manifestation yan. Keloids are usually 15 times more common to dark pigmented ethnicities. So usually yan sa mga Egoy, no, sa mga African Americans. Then genetically, it's an autosomal dominant trait. While your hypertrophic scar develops 4 weeks after trauma. So nangyayari talaga siya. Okay? So the management, usually pag may ganyan, refer to plastic surgeons na, no? And they will be the one to give this management, no? Yeah, excision, intralesional injections, radiation, pressure, topicals, retinoids. So ito yon, study this table so that you will have a greater grasp of the difference between a keloid and a hypertrophic scar. So peritoneal scarring, usually, ayan yung mga adhesions inside the abdomen, no? So, excuse me. Wait lang. Okay. Yun. It can also due to adhesions from previous surgeries, no? So, ang causes niya, peritoneal injury, prior surgery, yung pinaka-common, 67%. And intra-abdominal infection at number 2, 28%. Pero most common sa kanya, yung ileum, no? Intra-abdominal adhesions of the small bowel, obstruction in the ileal area at 65 to 75%, most common location din. Can be caused by secondary, it can also cause secondary infertility in females because yung adhesions na yun pwedeng maipit yung fallopian tube sa area, sa pelvic area. And also can cause substantial pain. Ito na yung last aspect of the lecture. Sorry, ilang minutes na lang, mabilis na lang to, ilang slides na lang. So, treatment of wounds, kailangan ng local care, no? So, alam niyo na rin naman yan, yung first aid, no? Before you do anything, syempre, the history muna, the usual, no? And then, attend to the wound, clean it up, you bandage it or you suture it if it need be, then give antibiotics. Okay? So this is the algorithm of the management of acute wounds. Study this and know this by heart because as a doctor, you have to know this by heart. Okay? Ayan na, sinulat ko na dyan para hindi na kayo mag-research pa. So dressings, importante lang naman dito. Yan yung mga other types, no? But there in the book, there's the characteristic of a perfect wound dressing, no? So know this also. So it provides an ideal environment for wound healing. So ito yung mga iba-ibang klase. You don't have to know these things naman dahil available na yan in the market, no? So well, alamin nyo lang para lang at least you're informed na merong ganyan, no? Pero important lang sa dressing, it provides an ideal environment for the wound. Skin replacements, no? So conventional skin grafts, pwede yan, no? So pag sinabing autologous, kinuha yung from one side to nilagay sa kabilang side, no? Parang sa urology, no? We get the buccal mucosa and use it as a urethra for urethral stricture disease. So ginagawang urethra yung buccal mucosa. That's an autologous graft. Allogenic graft, yan naman yung transplant from non-identical donor, living or cadaver to host. Pwede rin ng mga transplant, diba? Then xenogenic grafts. Ito naman yung from other species. Ang most common na ginagamit sa market ngayon, porcine graft from pigs. Ginagamit skin graft for burn patients. Okay? So next, cellular tissue-based products in chronic wound ulcer management. Ito yung basic principles. Dapat kung meron kang mga ganyang gagawing products, you follow these basic principles. Hindi pwedeng basta gawa ka lang ng gawa ng product for cellular tissue-based na products para gamitin sa tao. Siyempre, unethical yun. So you have to follow these basic principles. There are two types, the dermo-inducive products, yun yung allograft, TheraSkin, Dermagraft, yung tatlo. The dermo-conducive products naman, itong dalawa, yung Integra. And the stem cell, which is the most popular nowadays, yung Epifex and Graphics. So these are types of cellular and tissue-based products that can be used to cover skin, no, for wound healing, non-healing wounds in the skin. Next, oxygen therapy. Ayun na rin, sinabi ko na kanina, paulit-ulit, di ba? Oxygen is very, very important in wound healing because it is the most important ingredient in collagen formation. So, importante. So, merong isang doktor na nag-invento, yung hyperbaric oxygen treatment or your HBOT. No, sabi niya, it improves graft survival, complete healing. No? Kasi yung mismong oxygen, purong-puro binibigay sa buong katawan ng pasyente. So the patient is inside a machine which can supply oxygen therapy. This can also be done by yung local areas lang, bawa sa kamay. May mga gadget na nilalagay yung kamay lang to supply oxygen therapy also. But it's still under study. Next is the biofilm and chronic wound healing. There's such a thing as biofilm formation, mind you, no, sa mga sugat or sa mga kinakabit na appliances in the body, like your IFC or your indwelling Foley catheter, your stents, no, yung mga ganyan. Pwede siyang kapitan ng mikrobyo, and those infections tend to produce something that protects them, and that's the biofilm. So pag nag-biofilm na, nagiging mahirap ng tanggalin yung infection. So yun yung best method pa rin is frequent debridement para tanggalin mo linisin mo yung sugat para hindi siya mag-produce ng biofilm. Okay? Then last topic, wound closure techniques, no? So staples used only for linear lacerations, yan, so ginagamit. No, advantage niya, mabilis kasi diretso ka lang, no, cost effective, and usually used for emergency situations, yung kailangan na mabilisan. So there are types of suturing. In primary wound closure, sutures are the standard of care. Okay? So, diniscuss nyo na rin sa SG dito, no? Yung mga types of wound suturing and types of sutures. So, I placed here the techniques. So, you just have to study this advantages of each of the types of techniques of wound suturing. So, usually for aesthetic, subcuticular stitch ang ginagamit. Kung gusto mo cosmetically appealing results, simple interrupted para rin mas mabilis. If you want running sutures, usually for rapid hemorrhage control yan, and applied quickly, mabilis siya gawin kasi nga continuous. And for deeper wounds, you use the mattress stitch para mas secure yung wound sutures mo. And adhesives, ito yung mga superficial lang, no? Pwede mo gamitin sa superficial wounds. Pwedeng skin tapes and skin glues. Yan yung mga ginagamit. Okay? So advantages, quick, relatively painless, infection rate lower, mas madali siya tanggalin kaysa sa sutures. So I guess that's the last slide. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions before we end? May nag-chat. Okay. Hi, Dr. Bartolome. You're also a food tech pala. Appear. Saan ka nag-food tech, Doktora?